Welcome to Burns White, Inside the Law.
We are here with the man, the myth, the legend. His name has come up like almost every podcast we've had. William J. Mundy.
Never pay enough.
What does the J stand for?
I don't know. It's X, actually.
Is it X?
Well, no, it's the initials to get into my system. Probably shouldn't say that.
Okay.
But it's to get into the system. It's
WXM, right?
Because nobody knew what my number
Yeah.
was.
Okay, yeah.
It's James.
It's James. Okay. So that's
Should be much better.
I know, right? Because you're WXM, and everyone's
I
like,
actually think that's kind of cool.
it is pretty funny actually, because then this is like we're gonna go way off course. We already started, right? No, it's funny because your initials are WXM, and people that ask me, like, what is Bill's middle initial? Because what middle name? Because the initial is X. Yeah, and they're
He's having two more.
The James is pretty boring. But anyway, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you.
And Bill and I, we know each other pretty well, I guess you could say. You know, like
Senior.
yeah, seen each other around in this firm, and people who know the firm and Burns White. My name is, like other partners in this firm, my name is attached to yours a lot. You're one of my mentors, my best friends, and it's just been an honor and privilege just to have you in my life over the last 15 years. You know, like anyway,
For Clint here.
yeah, no, just bad.
Change your name to X.
It works better with WXJ. AXJ, I don't know.
That I kind of like that.
Yeah. All right, so what we're doing here is we're going to get a chance to have you talk about your background and your path at Burns White and just things you've been doing here and how things are going with you. So start with from the beginning. Like,
Well,
how did you end up here?
Mr. and Mrs. Mundy.
This is the child program.
on it, but he was here.
This is the child-friendly program.
So, I came out of school with an accounting degree.
Right, you're an accountant.
Yeah. And I didn't want to work in a Pittsburgh steel mill as an accountant. So that was the job I got. So I said, well, maybe we'll.
Wait, is that so you really had an offer?
I did. Well, it was Penn State.
Okay.
So, we were probably hanging out, not really going to interviews. And then I was like, at the end of the term, it's like, put in for one of the interviews. So I got a job at a steel mill as an accountant.
Wait, so you graduated with an accounting degree and your first computer science and with a minor and a degree in accounting, and the job offer that you got out of college at Penn State was
as an accountant in the accounting department of a Pittsburgh steel.
Oh, that's a little better than
but back then it was like, now Pittsburgh is pretty nice.
Right.
Bohemian, but back then
we love Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, it's
like a scene out of the Deer Hunter.
Okay, so it was an accounting job.
It was an accounting.
Okay, right. Okay.
I was like, I don't want to go to Pittsburgh. No offense. So
little did you know where you'd end up.
Yeah.
All these years later.
Well, yeah, I went to law school and I figured I'll do tax and real estate work. That might be kind of cool. And then I get out in '89, the market kind of collapsed. So took a job in litigation, and said, I'll do this for a few years, and then I'll go on to what I want.
How did you end up doing medical malpractice?
I was in a boutique firm that has since closed, and so we were doing med mal, and as the youngest, I got a lot of experience. But back then, it was
yeah.
But doing auto and slip and fall, and then kind of segued in because it was primarily doing practice firm. But you get all the crap.
There's no practice inventory. We take all files in Burns White. We value all
costs.
Every case is important.
Oh man, it's like, well, everybody's doing neurology. That's the kind of stuff they want to do. At least consider. Yeah, again, the tranche of cases that had chiropractors. Not anything wrong with chiropractic, but chiropractors and all kinds of different things. But in that bucket of cases was nursing. And so,
what year was this when you started getting the nursing?
That was probably '94.
Because it's such a big industry now. In 1994, probably not so much, right?
No, and back then nobody was. First of all, nobody wanted it. That's the reason I got the firm, and it was Continental. We had Continental at the time, and so they had this nursing home book, and they merged with CNA. 1995, and they created aging services then. But up here, nobody was doing it. Now down south, the Wilkes
In
McEwen,
Florida,
that.
in
Yeah,
Florida,
it was real big. Like they started all that with their Title 400, I don't know all that, but basically it gave them an avenue. So it became really popular in the 80s, late 80s through Wilkes McEwen and his firms. And then in the 90s, it was really entrenched down there. But up here in the north, nobody was there. So I got 3 cases, and I did a pretty decent job on them, and these claims reps thought so. And they had transitioned over to CNA, and he said, he goes, I have these other nursing home cases. I kind of like what you did on this. So, I'd like you to kind of set you up to do more of them. So, and at that point, I was thinking, I'm going to do something. I was like, I'm going to do a different area of law, and I'm going to go somewhere. And so, like, this looks like there might be an opportunity here.
Yeah.
It wasn't even, walking up the street and seeing an opportunity. It was like mugging me right there.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing it.
And this is the mid 90s, I guess.
About that. So then from that, it just, so I stopped doing that. They had most of the book back then, in the mid 90s.
Uh-huh.
That was CNA. And CNA had, they must have had 80% of them.
Okay.
So cases started rolling in.
Okay.
You get to know other clients through that. It was a great opportunity. So it was one of those things where you see it, you kind of say, that's probably an opportunity. Room. Now, probably would have been an international Playboy and Patron. Every time I go the other way. But no,
Different lifestyle.
Yeah, different lifestyle. But then I would have gotten a jet and probably crashed.
Well, at what point did you, it was pretty early on in your career where you started having opportunities. But, I mean, I was very biased, but like, if you ask anybody around, you're viewed as one of the best leaders. And you've spoken a lot about leadership in different presentations you've done, which I've had the pleasure of doing with you and being with you on a few times. So what I wanted to do with this podcast, and we can talk about anything, you and I sit down in front of the microphone, but I think what I want to focus on today is just give you a chance to kind of explain the Mundy brand of leadership, and maybe, this might be a second career for you. Maybe this might be the next, there's a lot of books out there on leadership and a lot of talks on leadership, a lot of people have a lot of opinions on what works. But you, pretty early on in your career, you were a leader in law. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, by necessity, you can only, especially in this business, what we do by hourly, you can never be more than yourself unless you can be better. So, it's by necessity, somewhat of a leader, because the more people you have underneath you to do this work, the more successful.
You can only do so much yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. So many hours.
Yeah.
You probably find some people that find extra hours.
Yeah, I know. Like 27 hours that you built yesterday.
Yeah, there's people out there that find that, but we don't do that. No, but you kind of have to do that. Especially as you get older too, you start to see that there's other people that really have capability to do wonderful things. Sometimes you kind of get a little off track, and that's probably kind of the more rewarding part of what you do now. Have people that you teach and kind of be something more than they.
Mm-hmm. So. And you've been involved with different rosters of people, I guess. And
so a lot of terms. You're saying you have a lot of
no, meaning what I'm saying is that you've had
people running for the
let me rephrase the question. What I meant is that you've had people that have that you've started off with that kind of seen leadership abilities in them, and they themselves have become leaders, right? And it kind of builds from that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Some people, they say natural leadership. I don't think it's natural leadership. I just think they have certain innate qualities that it's easier for them to be a leader. But everybody has the ability. Everybody leads. So, if you have a dog, you're a leader. Presumably the dog's not welcoming you. So, you have it within yourself to do it. It's just a question of, are you willing to keep this? And then it's how you lead. You can lead by fear, but that'll only last so long. And then, you'll probably die by friendly fire. Do that. So there's other ways of encouragement. I think leadership, as far as being a leader, should be positive, but it's tough. It's not easy. you kind of set the tone for everything. So, you walk in some days, you have a crappy day. You get up and it's a crappy day. And then you got to come into crappiness that is there. And so you really don't want to deal with it, but you always have to smile. You always got to have a positive attitude because they will follow you. That attitude sets the tone for everything. So, what's the old one? And the word, right? So it's difficult, but it's also rewarding because I've seen a lot of people move on. Some people I desperately didn't want to perform, but they moved on the roles in like general counsel and stuff like that. They were really wonderful people, really good. And you just look back and say, maybe if I had just a little bit of piece of that, I can certainly take credit for somebody achieving something. That's them. But it is to say, you know what, I might have had a little piece of their life at one point. And that's pretty cool.
I'm sure if you asked them, they would say that.
No, they deny totally.
Well, in that same vein, like, how does it make you feel to see somebody like Stuart O'Neill, who we had an episode with Stuart, and he mentioned how he started his career working with you, and now he's the CEO of the firm. How does it make you feel when you have people who you mentored rise to that level of success? Not just here, but other firms too.
Well, once he got over the firing,
he's not getting fired. At least not by you.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. Stuart's been interesting because Stuart always had, obviously, he had certain things about him that you could tell. And he always had a drive and he always wanted to achieve. That's a wonderful thing. And that's why, your life is so short. Flicker of a flame. So, you need to seize the opportunities. And one thing he did was seize an opportunity. And I certainly respect him for it. And he built that into something when he left the firm.
Right.
He was an associate. Yeah. And then when I remember it was right after a trial, he left. And but he was kept in touch.
Mm-hmm.
And he, he would ask for, advice. But he was doing it on his own. But we always kept in touch, and that was kind of nice because it's not necessary.
Right.
I never feel that way about people leaving. And frankly, people need to live the life they have because you're not going to get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going to be behind you at some point. So it was important for him, and he moved on, and he became so much better, even just leaving and having experience. So then he comes back, and it was funny.
Probably not.
Yeah, well, that's true. Embarrassing enough.
It else is embarrassingly. So
well, yeah, he's probably got to cross the. But I said to him when he came back, he said, "Look, I've come back. I don't know if I'll have any business or anything like that, but I really want to come back." It doesn't even matter. You will, because it's within you to do these things. People will follow you because of who you are, and it was true. And he has become an amazing success. He rose from. I think he came in. I'm trying to think if he came in right as an associate to a partner or whatever, but he obviously scaled very quickly to an equity partner and part of the executive committee. And then he went on to CEO. And he's an amazing CEO. We've had some really good people that had positives and weaknesses. I think he's been the best. And it's not a disparagement of any of the people we had before. I think they were terrific. But Stuart has had that energy and drive and upbeat attitude.
Yeah, he showed us some of that.
Oh, yeah.
And we've known him personally for a long time. It's great to see other people experience him.
Well, all the experience. No, well, the thing with Stuart too is I went to a few different people, and he's one of them. And I said, look, there is a classic example of American success. This is the guy who came as an associate, and he's the CEO. Totally blew past me. CEO of this now, it's like anybody can achieve. And you just have to put your mind to it, and you have to have that right attitude. So he's a classic example within our firm.
Talk about
now, can we get around with that?
Yeah, no, I think
it's our secrets of that.
Yeah, no, I think we need that for the podcast. Use that for we want something from the CEO. Blackmail. It's not an empty body. There's stuff in there. So while we have you here, little personal stuff. How about Max and Lisa?
I know.
And I'm like, how's Max now?
Max is 11, and people are like, hold on, 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. Max is 11, he'll be 12, Boy Scout, and going into middle school. It's great, a lot of fun.
And Lisa, the woman with the most patience in the world, right?
Most patience and most degrees. He's a lover. Yeah, the better half, as they say.
Yeah.
She puts up with me. I'll tell you what, that's one of the things, too. I have a wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, all that stuff. But it's one of the things, it's funny because you always keep that mind. But it's not always fun. Like inside, you're feeling stuff.
Yeah.
And when you go home, that's the person you're most comfortable with. And unfortunately, it comes out.
Yeah.
So, and she deals with me. So he gets the certain end of the stick. And so,
yeah. And I know, like, I want people to hear this because, I mean, since we obviously know each other pretty well, like, and I know how much you spend time with your family, make time for them, even though you're like everybody's person here, like firm wide, it's like everybody goes to you for everything, but you always find time to carve out for like what's more important in life. And I think that you set the tone for that too, which is like, what you want from people who work for you, right?
mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you don't want to look back with regrets on that. Especially with Max, like he's growing up, I wanted to have that time.
Yeah.
I got lucky too because obviously I had him later in life, so it's a little bit different. I always look at professionals and say 20s is the time to have some fun.
Yeah.
30s, you should be establishing. 40 and 50s is where you really make developments. You have your business and start to develop your business. Now I just turned 60, so I'm there. I'm continuing on with the business, but that period of developmental has passed. And so I think younger lawyers starting and trying to bounce all those things, it's really tough, especially for mothers. I think I've just always made like people have working there when they're able to balance those things. They're amazing, which is amazing. Like a name on listed. But I got a little bit lucky because I was already set and then I was able to that time around. But it is really important because you don't want to miss that time.
Yeah.
But there is a balance that can be struck. A lot of people have issues figuring out how to do that. But the truth is, our profession, we actually have a lot of flexibility. Doesn't sound like
We
it.
actually do, you're right.
Yeah.
We do.
Like I work at home a lot and I'm here, get a lot of questions. Go home and work some more. But no, but that balance works. Because I have some quiet time in between. I have the more active time, but we get all the stuff done. But as lawyers, I think that's one of the benefits because we can sometimes juggle our schedule around to meet those.
Yeah, and you have a set with Saturday with Max. What do you call it?
Oh, Daddy Day.
Daddy Day, right?
Daddy Day was a big deal. And he made it so that I used to work. So, but then, with Max, it was like, well, we're going to have Daddy Day. And that's just Daddy Day. Do our thing. And we used to find anything, a fair.
Yeah, I know.
Turkey Hill, whatever. Just find a place, drive to it, and hang.
Yeah. So I think like you and I, like we have that in common way. Like I feel like if I was home and it's sad for me to say this, like if I was like home and like I had nothing to do, I'd be very happy to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or just like, okay, well now's my chance to kind of, like everybody's busy doing something. So it's great to have family that like grounds you, and forces you to like, put your work away and like, open up your eyes and see what's going on around.
It reorients you. And, it's funny. It's almost like having blinders on without them. But if you have peripheral vision, your family should always be in your peripheral vision. You should always know they're there and they're important and they're part. You're right. They ground you. And then you got to focus, laser focus on things like that trial.
Right.
But they're always there. You need to keep them in that peripheral vision.
Yeah.
So, but it makes it so much better. I never used to think it would work.
Yeah, I remember that.
Caught up, but they actually grounded me. And you like we had Daddy Day. And then the next day was so much easier.
Yeah. Right. So back to leadership. I have a few questions. Some trivia, but and again, this is our chance to launch the Mundy brand of leadership. So what I'm going to do is I know there's a lot of books out there on leadership, a lot of research. You're laughing, like, but it's like it's fun. I want to get your thoughts on some of the concepts out there, terms that are used in some of the literature on leadership, and just give us your spin. First, servant leadership, defined as describes a leadership style that emphasizes collaboration, empathy, and support. Any thoughts on that? Servant leadership. Yeah, I know. It's interesting.
Would you follow anybody that talks like that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because a lot of things come naturally to you, that don't necessarily come naturally to others. And like, so that's why, we gotta launch this Monday brand, like, because it's like, you gotta teach people how you've done it all these years,
Here's what you better reading the technocratic language or seeing movie clips.
Yeah, I know.
I think they're good for the movie.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen one of Bill's presentations, they're full of clips which are pretty good. Yeah,
they are the star of the show.
Yeah.
But
so as far as servant leadership, like having empathy for your employees and kind of supporting them. I know you kind of do that naturally, but if you just comment on that as far as
I don't have to use that language.
no, you don't. Use the Monday language.
Right, well, they never leave. They just write them. One thing I will say about it, you never, first of all, never tell people not to fix them because people are hardwired. People are who they are. So when you say that, it's almost an attack. And we see a lot.
Point.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
It shouldn't bother you. Like,
well, yeah, right.
Don't take it to heart.
Right, don't take it to heart. And but it's also.
We realize both of our wives listen to this. So they're gonna be like,
wait a minute.
Like, how many times have you said that to me?
I know, okay. Nice comment. But no, it's especially in a polarized world. Unfortunately, it's a society. We don't listen to stuff. We just kind of people take positions. But to me, I may have positions on something, but I'm kind of curious as to why others. So instead of saying, you should feel that way, tell me why.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe you get to understand that person. It's that whole idea of walking somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, sure.
But the truth of the matter is, you really don't know what people are through. I had actually at our conference when I did a leadership, I did it for our firm, and I remember someone. I'm not going to say who it is. This person, and she told me, and something I just didn't think really was something that resonated with me. And she told me a story, and boy, it just made me think about it because it was personal to her.
Uh-huh.
Now, I didn't experience it; I hadn't been there, but it really resonated with me. And it was a classic example of people have different life experiences, and they're hardwired. And we feel strongly about that. You don't diminish it; you try to understand. But that's part of leadership too. You try to, you're trying to take the strengths of somebody that are already given to you, but also those vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and try to make it better. So that's always in leadership. That's one of the things. Everybody is a different. It's like Neapolitan ice cream, right?
Right.
So you're everybody's different. You're trying to find that thing within people, and if you do, it's like the most rewarding. It's great to be a leader.
Right.
Not all.
Right. It's even better to build leaders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we've had plenty. Well, Stuart's plenty.
We talk about him.
And you? Are you? We started asking you about the question.
That's why I got to be the host.
Just go along with you.
Yeah.
He tells some stories about his son. But no, look, you came over as an associate. I won't say where you came from, but you came over. I've been begging for it. No.
I was begging for
I remember interviewing you in that library. It was like stacked with all the files and stuff like that over there. And it's like, and you really want to be part of this. And you have developed into an phenomenal lead. Everybody, even people that lead for different reasons, personal reasons, they're all about love. I love them too. But it's like, and love aside.
And Brian too.
And Brian.
Let's throw him in there.
Well, Brian, they're like, I should Brian too. Brian actually had great affection for Brian just because of what we went through starting off. So, but you, I mean, you've been an amazing asset and certainly an amazing leader. People look to you, and you lead our leadership Jersey presence. So, but you started an associate. You're a classic example of that.
Appreciate that. Thanks. And again, it's like it's
Money, right?
yeah, no, it is. It really is. It's like when people have confidence in, like, and everybody, the firm is filled with people, examples of that, where like like leaders in the firm, and in Pittsburgh, there's like we have Dave D'Amico, and other people like in there, you here, and just senior attorneys in our firm putting confidence in associates who build practices and are now partners in their prime, like, and which is why I think our firm has a pretty strong future.
But definitely, we have. If you look at all the founders and put myself in the bottom category of that, just because, but we have a whole level of young people and opportunities. I mean, the firm's been growing, it's growing. So, but the opportunities, it's pretty amazing. And people take those moments and are able to do it and have done. I can go through a list of those. You're interviewing someone.
Yeah,
you're interviewing.
People are gonna get to meet them.
They also rose up and
we're trying to make that point too. Producing them podcasts. They came to Burns White as associates, and now they're partners and
yeah, it's a great thing to see. It shows helping the firm, but it's also just when you see people achieve, it's just
another leadership firm. Ready? Yes, but laissez-faire leadership. That's the leadership style that is characterized by a hands-off approach, allowing high autonomy.
Don't care.
That's a fine line, man. That's a fine line.
No,
like my laissez-faire leadership. I need laundry. That's laissez-faire. Like the training club doesn't fly.
Any of those terms, but I would say that you have to be able to. You can never be more than yourself, and you can't be a leader. And when you delegate, you empower people, and you've got to put them in the right position to achieve. So I guess that's what that means. But I do that. I mean, think about it. I mean, you took over New Jersey. I used to be managing New Jersey. There's a classic example of that. I don't know if it's hands off as much as trusting. We certainly give opportunities for people because I don't think you can actually show it. And I'll tell you, most people, and one thing I will tell you about people, you don't realize it sometimes, is everybody's self. You'll always have in your mind what you can do. And that is self-love. And so if you blind people to that, they can achieve so much more. And so putting people in that position, right? It's not really hands off as much as allowing them to do things they never thought. I can give you examples of each of them. One I can think of right off the top of my head, didn't want to terrified to take that position. Amazing. Takes a ton of them, have something. But you can do it.
The first time is always the hardest.
It is the hardest. And everybody has a reserve tank.
Yeah.
Everybody has extra 10 or 15% beyond even what the most optimistic. They always have that. And the key of leadership is not only giving them autonomy and ability to do that, but also forcing them to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now somebody goes stupid, he probably has a leak
but it's one thing about like people don't appreciate, at least when they new partners or people who are stepping into the role of leadership, is it's a skill in and of itself, right? Because it's like we had gotten to a point in the law firm. That's the fact that we're good lawyers. We're great at doing depositions, great at trying cases, and we're great at giving our clients, what they need to defend claims or handle these cases. It's another skill to trust other people to do that. I think that takes a little bit of and guiding them and helping them get that's something that you are excellent at. It took me a while to learn, and I'm still learning. But there's days where I'm just like, it's much easier to do this myself. But you have to take a step back and kind of be like, well, I can't do everything myself, or else I'll explode.
Yeah, right. Well, it's also too, as lawyers, in this business, some people try to pull.
Yes, right.
That's probably a little bit more self-confidence.
Yeah.
Who you are. So, you can't really be a decent leader unless you have self-confidence.
Sure.
Abilities and stuff. So you got to make yourself good. But, yeah, I mean, what more to add to that?
All right, one more, last one. I'm torturing you with these terms.
Terms, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One more term. The trait theory of leadership. That's the leadership theory that says that leaders are born, not made. That they possess inherent qualities suited for leadership. What are your thoughts on that?
People have inherent qualities. I can tell you become a good leader. And that's not to say younger people can't be good leaders, but you learn, through, I think. But you learn as you get older, you start to realize. So some people do have an innate ability to communicate, and to also take control in certain situations. So that does exist, but it's within everyone. Everybody has a strengths and weaknesses. They're not balanced. And the question is, the strengths might be on the surface, what people would say is innate, but the truth is, it's all there. It's innate to them. It's just you need to pull the weaknesses and make them more of a strength.
Right.
So to me, it's more of a developmental thing than just innate.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been close to our time. Why don't we wrap it up with your thoughts as far as your practice and how you see things going for Burns White and our future?
It's bad. No, I mean, every firm has. But I will tell you that this is about the sunniest I remember. And there's so many opportunities. I always looked at business with irons in the fire, some in the backfire, some in the front fire, and you're always kind of adjusting them. And that's how this firm. A lot of people, a lot of groups too. So it's wonderful. And going back to your positions of authority, that's the best part. You know you have a healthy firm going forward when you have that second position. So it's great.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for doing this.
Can I keep the mug?
You can keep the mug. And we have a few of them lying around. So we'll find a place.
And the coffee.
And the coffee too. Well, our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
All right. The information contained in this podcast is considered an outline intended to be supplemented by an attorney. The information is not legal advice and should not be considered as such. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or comments regarding this episode, feel free to email us at podcast@burnswhite.com.